Okay, so we have finessed this so that we don't have any bubbles, any pleats, anything. So the seam should be flat, okay? And that's what mine looks like, both sides. So hopefully you were able to do that. And like I said, take your time. That part, it's really important that you get all the bubbles and buckles out. Okay, so now we are going to press that and just see how wonderful that's going to turn out. Okay. And we're going to push this seam, to the front. Okay, because remember we're going to sew in our facing and that should cover that up. We're going to push that seam to the front. Okay, so arms all hot. Come in here. Remember, this is going to pucker a little bit because this is made for your breast area. Okay. I'm just going to iron this front part too. Just so I can get a full view and get you to have a full view. Alrighty, and if you can see that, my seam, there's no puckering. Let me just flatten that out a little bit more. I mean, it looks lovely. I'm just gonna folded it in a little bit, press that out. All right, and that's your seam, and I am super happy with that because there's no ruffling or no puckering. Alright, so I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to press this out and hopefully both of your sides have come out flat. And again, I say to you, if it did not, you're just going to have to finagle that to make it come out really good. Just take your time. If you have to take the stitches out a few times, that's fine. You just want to make sure you get it where it's supposed to be. Okay. Turn this one over. And we have success again on the other side. Okay. Awesome. All right, so hope you can see that. If you can see this seam, that's my curved seam, and that baby is like butter. Butter, butter. Okay, so now we are going to get these pockets together. And if you want to, you can sew the pockets as per the directions. If you do it my way, the pocket's going to be a little bit bigger than what the pocket is supposed to be, but I'm okay with that. Again, if you want to follow directions, just go ahead. You're just going to need to make sure that you're good with the edges, because basically what the pattern wants you to do is just to fold these under all the way around. So you're kind of going to be freehanding it. My way, I'm going to take 2 pieces of fabric. I'm going to sew here, and I'm going to go around, and I measure, my foot is against this edge, so I should get the correct shape. come all the way around and go here. I'm leaving this much open so that I can turn the pocket over, okay? So my pieces, and maybe you can see it a little bit better on this side, I'm going to sew here, come around, come here, and leave this part open, okay? That's my version of the pockets. And then once that has been done, and I went ahead and did this so that you could see, it's going to look like this, okay? And my shape is pretty darn good this way. And I'm not freehanding anything because it might not work out the way that I want it to work out. So I figured this is an easier way for me to do it. And basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to press this, okay? Just going to press that. Once I get it all, get that done. And since my print is a wild print, I can choose which side I want it on. It doesn't really matter. So there's my pocket. Okay, there is my pockets, and I'm just going to stitch this onto my jacket. But I am going to make a stitch here, and I am going to make a stitch across here so that I have this band here. So I'm going to make a stitch across the top, and then a little ways down, whatever you want. But I'm just going to make 2 stitches across, and then once we're going to get it on the pocket, I'm just going to sew it around and attach it to the jacket. Okay, so I'm going to turn over. That one's already finished, and I've already sewn this. This is not going to be that difficult, so I don't think you need to watch me sew this piece. You just know you need to sew it all the way around. Leave that opening. When you're done, just clip your corners so you don't have all that bulk, and then we are going to cut in our notches. When you're anytime you're working with a curve and you want to turn it over, you just want to cut your notches so that your edges are pretty decent, you know, have room to be spread out once it's turned over. All that fabric's not bunched up together. Okay. Alright, so I put my notches in, got my corners clipped, and I am going to turn this over to the other side. And hopefully I follow my edges nicely the way they're supposed to be. And poke out my corners. And you may have a tool to poke out corners. I don't. So I use whatever I really can use to poke my corners out. You just don't want it to go through the fabric, that's all. And try to get them out as nice and pointy as you can. Okay, so that's pretty decent. Thread. Go here. Make sure all this is out as much as it can be. And I'm looking pretty good on that one too. Seams are all good. And I'm going to press this one. Alright, another pocket down. I didn't finagle with turning that under all the way around. Okay, so those are my 2 pockets, and again I'm going to sew a stitch across here because remember we left that open and we need to close that up, so I'm going to stitch across there, and then I'm just going to come down a little bit. However wide you want that band to be, it's fine. And so I'm going to do 2 stitches across, and then we are going to pin this onto the front of the blazer. Okay, so just one stepwise, just put those stitches here, and you'll probably be getting your pocket together. So once you turn yours over or turn yours under per the pattern directions, you'll get that all flattened out, and you'll sew your stitches across, so we'll be in the same place. Okay, so you'll be completely done with your pocket and ready to attach it to your jacket. All right, so let's get to that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now you have finished your pockets. There's the top stitch that I did on mine and the bottom stitch, so that's what my pocket looks like. Okay, and I can use either side of my pocket, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. So anyway, you should have your pocket marks on your pattern piece. This is a piece you should have marked, which for looking at on this pattern piece, this is the side front piece, pattern piece number 2. Your pattern marks for your pocket would have been, can you see that? These circle marks. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so those circle marks are your pattern pocket mark for depending on what size you are. If you did not mark your pattern pieces, please feel free to place that on there, line it up, give yourself a little marking so you'll know where your pockets go. You can freehand it if you want to, but where the placement should be. So my pockets should be right here on my jacket. And all you're going to do once you get your pocket where it's supposed to be is, I think I'm going to leave it on that side. Let me see. Yeah, because that's different. Alright, so mine, your pocket goes a little bit over to the of your front panel of your blazer. Just a little bit over that seam line. That's where it seems to line up. Okay, so I would just pin that on there. This part is super easy. Pin that on there. One more. So there we have my pocket pinned to the front, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew all the way around here, making sure I'm tacking it really well up here at my corners on each side, because that is going to be a stress point in the pocket when you put your hands in the pocket. Okay, so let me just pin on my other side. There's my marking, and I'm still going to use the same stripe here, and this is where it's overlapping the seam to the front right here, just a little bit. Okay, the video went off when I was pinning the pocket to the front. So I've sewn, and you're going to sew right now. I've sewn mine. I stitched it close to the edge, making sure I tacked it really good in the corners. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and stitch your pocket to the front, tacking it close to the edge. All right, I'm going to give you a second to get both pockets done. Okay, so there's something I did want to bring to your attention is, remember when we added the side front to the back, and I said, oh, the pattern didn't call for us to finish that edge, but I went ahead and finished that edge anyway, and said, oh, if you want to do it, gave you time to do it and everything. I know some of y'all was reading that directions and saying, I don't know what she's talking about, but it does say to finish that edge. If you caught it, awesome. If you missed it, you still have time to finish that seam, because the pattern does call for you to finish that seam. My bad. My bad. Alright, so that's on me. So, yeah. Reading is fundamental. That's all I got to say about that. But anyway, I thought I knew I was doing and everything, so I was going a little ahead of myself. That happens sometimes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to fold up this back and get this together. And we have just one more step. So the pattern calls for you to do this prior to adding the front to the back. But I didn't really see the difference in doing it that way. If you followed the pattern to a T and did it that way, that's awesome. And I ain't mad at you. Okay, but I'm putting bias tape on my end. You need to finish this seam, this end, some type of way. Either you're going to fold it under and give it a little top stitch, you're going to serge it, or you're going to add some bias tape. But you're going to finish it some type of way. Alright, so then you're going to fold it up, and then you're going to have a seam allowance in the front left over, because remember, we still have a facing to sew on there, okay? So I'm going to just pin this up. Pin that all good. Okay. Pin that up, and I have both of my ends, I have my space for my facing. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit of homework tonight, because I'm going to leave you with that, and you are going to stitch that by hand closed, and make sure your stitches don't go through to the front. Okay, so the last thing we are going to do is we are going to pin these shoulders together. Okay, we are just going to pin those. You have a notch, you should match up your notches. Okay, just pin that. And pin that one. Okay, let me get my other shoulder together, my notch together. And so I'm going to pin my two shoulder seams, and I am going to go take those over and get these all sewn up, and I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, so we've sewn those shoulders and we've pressed them out, and this is where we're at. Everyone is going to have a little bit of homework, and you're going to slip stitch that seam all the way up, all the way around, making sure you don't go to the front of your fabric so you don't see the stitching. Tomorrow we're going to pop in some collars. I hope I've explained things so that everyone understands it. If I didn't, maybe between me explaining it and you reading it, you got it. If you didn't get it, in the comments, please leave a note. From 12 to 3, I'll be available for immediate response, and I will answer it. This is going to get better as it goes along. Trust me. So I will see you tomorrow.